It's that time of the year again. Pumpkin spice lattes, Halloween, and American fucking Horror Story. That's right, it's back for another year, and this time it looks like it's going to be the best series yet, judging by the first episode. It's got the three main S's that lead to a successful show. It's got sex, it's got fucking sycophants, it's got scares. It's got everything you need in a show, to be honest with you. So yeah, there's a short review. It's bloody awesome, so go check it out. If you want more than that, if you want more information than that, then stick around and I'll tell you a bit about the episode and a bit about the characters as well. Now you might think I'm coming at this from the point of view of an existing fan, and in some ways I am, but the only two series that I liked were Murder House, the first season, and Asylum, the second series. I didn't like any of the other ones, so I'm not like a raging fan. I'm not like somebody who loves everything they release. But I do feel like this is the best series yet, and that is why I'm making a video on it, because I feel like other people should check it out if they are feeling the same way as I did about the later series of American Horror Story, if they're feeling like later series were kind of lacking in the scare department and were more kind of lenient on campness or lenient on other things. This does strike a good balance between camp and scary, and it's a really good show, and hopefully a really good series in general. Now the premiere episode starts, as many of the American Horror Story episodes start. It starts with people kind of exploring an area they shouldn't explore, and it starts with those people getting punished for said exploration. I like the way they did this one. It was really weird. You had two women who would go to a hotel because they wanted to explore Los Angeles, and they chose this hotel. Fucking good job there, right? I don't know if you were checking the reviews, but I wouldn't need to go there if you were checking the reviews. Travelodge, 10 out of 10. It's not going to have 10 out of 10, is it? People are dying in it. Do you know what I mean? If anything, it's going to have a 7. But yeah, two Swedish people went to this hotel. They arrived and found out that it, much like they would be, is dead, and nobody was there. So they thought, ooh, this is a bit iffy. Common sense right there. I'll applaud them on that much. In Asylum, at the start and kind of prologue bit, they were exploring some dilapidated asylum, and they fucking started having sex. Like what? Why? At least these ones didn't have sex. Maybe they did. It wasn't shown. Maybe they did behind the scenes. I don't know. They said, "Can we get a deposit back?" And Kathy Bates' character said no. She just said no. You can't get your deposit back. You're upstairs. And so they went upstairs. Can't get the money back. It must have been fucking expensive, or even a risk your life. Do you know what I mean? It must have been a very expensive hotel. But the two girls just stayed in the hotel. They went up to the room, and naturally, that is when things kind of kicked off. I won't spoil any more than that. I'll try and keep it spoiler-free as much as possible. But things went awry. People were appearing. There's like albino ghost children that are just fucking about the place. Do you know what I mean? There's some guy who likes to play about with beds. He's fun. There's loads of weird shit. There's loads and loads of weird stuff, and it's weirder than it has been in the past. In the Freak Show series, you had the clown Pennywise, or whatever the fuck his name was, Penny Not So Wise. You had in Murder House, you had the Gimp. In Freak Show, you had like Pepper, and you had like all the other weird things. But this is definitely the weirdest series so far. So if that's your selling point, if that's all you're looking for, is just weirdness and oddness and strangeness, then look no further, because this even fucking made me feel weird, and I'm an odd cunt. So you know, it achieved that much. Now, what this first scene with the Swedish meatballs, there's a joke for the people who watched it, what this first scene does is build up tension quite well. What it does is it kind of draws you in and makes you feel like the place is indeed scary. And scary is a thing that the show, for me at least, hasn't been for a while, and it's nice to see it making a return to that, and a return to sort of creepiness, weirdness, and all those good things. As I said, I didn't find the other ones that scary, and I feel like this is the closest series so far to Murder House in terms of quality and in terms of just what it is. I suppose it is similar to Murder House in its kind of story elements. I mean, it's a hotel that's haunted in a way, and Murder House was haunted house in a way. You know what I mean? I don't know if it is haunted. I have a few theories that I'll talk about as to what the residents are, but haunted is one of them. That's one of my theories, but maybe they're not. The other one's vampires. It might be vampires. I don't know. But the albino kids and the guy who lives in beds weren't main characters. Memorable as they weren't main characters, and the main characters is where I feel like this series is its strongest. So I'll just count down the kind of main characters that I enjoyed and the main characters that you might want to know about before you watch, or maybe you're watching this after you watched it for some reason. You want to know about them again. You want to know more about them, I suppose, yeah? So here we go. We'll start with the cherry of the bunch, Hypodermic Sally. That's a nice name, isn't it? Hypodermic fucking Sally. But she has loads of fucking friends. Alright, well, Hypodermic Sally, as you can guess by her name, is a drug addict, played by Sarah Paulson. Strangely attractive. Not Sarah Paulson, she is attractive in general, but I'm talking about the actual character of Hypodermic Sally. Have you ever seen Blade Runner? She looks a bit like Pris, who's like kind of dishevelled, then looks like she came out of a bin, but in a good way. It works. So yeah, if you like women who live in bins, then you'll love fucking Hypodermic Sally. Ooh, love her. She seems like another character in the show, actually, I'll mention, but she seems like a kind of Black Widow type persona, in the sense that she seems to trap men in the hotel, or trap men just of her own free will, and kill them. There's one scene that is strange, I'll tell you that, but there's one scene that is strange, where a bloke, he gets fucked by a gimp, and you might be thinking, oh, it's American Horror Story, we've had that happen before, haven't we? Ooh, that is just a normal Tuesday in American Horror Story. But I haven't finished, have I? It wasn't just a gimp. He was a gimp, but he was also a worm man. Yeah, he was a worm man gimp. That's the worst kind of gimp, right? But worse yet, he had a fucking dildo attached to him, and he was fucking this guy up the ass. But it wasn't just a dildo, mate. It gets worse. It was a drill, a DRILLDO, if you will. And yeah, that was something that she kind of she lured someone there, or at least she said she wanted to handle this one because he was especially sweet. And then she fucked him up the ass. Do you know what I mean? They say that nice guys finish last, but to be honest, he didn't finish at all. If he finished during that experience, then I would question what he's into. If you're into drills, then power to you, literally. But it's a bit weird. It's a bit weird. There's a drill rape scene, which is odd. But yeah, she seems to trap men. She seems to be a very kind of bitter character. She's strong. She's a strong female character. As you'll imagine. I mean, fucking people over drills, that inspires feminism everywhere. But she's tragic at the same time, because when she was getting her gimpy friend to fuck this guy up the ass, in order for the guy to stop, the victim had to say, I love you, to Sarah Paulson's character, Sally. So she started off in a position of power, and then at the end of the whole kind of ordeal, she was the victim in a way, or she was the kind of, she wasn't in power at the end of it, because she asked him to say I love you, and it made her look like a small child, or like a little girl, and maybe that is a character trait. I believe it is. So yeah, her asking him to say he loves her is something that might just be more than a line. It might be a kind of hint at her vulnerabilities and how she is as a kind of person. Do you know what I mean? She just wants to be loved. She just wants to be loved. And the best way to do a man's heart is through his asshole, apparently, according to Ryan fucking Murphy. So good job, Ryan. Good job. Sarah Paulson described her character as a ragdoll, as somebody who was kind of discarded in the hotel and forgotten in the hotel. So in that much there is vulnerability. So maybe there is truth to what I said, or maybe I'm just looking too much into it. That's always a possibility. I'm looking too much into it, and she just wanted a little bit of DRILLDO fun. You know what I mean? But yeah, she seems like she's a bit of a learner. She's a bit of a kind of hated person in the hotel, and somebody who is kind of just alone in the world. So the whole love thing makes sense in that aspect, I suppose. She's in the hotel for a lot of the time, old Sally is, but she hasn't got many friends. I suppose the gimp man would be her friend. I don't know if you want him to be your friend with his whole drill thing, but I mean, maybe he's good with DIY. Maybe in episode 2 we'll have a kind of DIY scene. Like Sarah's character goes like, "Hi, I'm putting up a shelf. Can you come help us?" And be like, "I thought you wanted me to rape somebody." She's like, "No, not today. You've got a day off, mate. But I do need you to put up my shelf." And he has to kind of gyrate into the wall to put up a shelf. DIY. Do you know what I mean? Multitasking. You can do some raping if you want to in your spare time, but at least put a few shelves up. You know what I mean? Contribute to the hotel if you're staying there so long. Contribute. Another character who deserves mention is Elizabeth, who is played by Lady Gaga. And this is another character who is a sort of Black Widow type woman. She sort of just eats people. She eats men. Don't know why this series is so obsessed with eating men, but this one has a lot of men eating. So she's another man-eater, so to speak. In more ways than one, she's a man-eater, but you know what I mean, in the literal sense and in the, oh, she's a man-eater, do, fucking holding her. The poor guy she was having sex with didn't even get to finish. Didn't even get to finish his business. She ate him. He died of blue balls. Do you know what I mean? That's the scariest thing. That's the scariest thing of the whole episode, is that poor bastard died of blue balls. Rest in pepperonis. You. Don't even know what his name was, but you. Victim number one of many. But yeah, she's kind of socialite, she's eccentric. She is pretty much just Lady Gaga playing herself. You know, most of the things about this character are Lady Gaga, except for, I suppose, the eating men. I mean, maybe she does eat men, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past her. She's a bit of a weird woman. But yeah, she seems to be the owner of the hotel. She seems to be like kind of a rich duchess type woman. She wears like giant, kind of really weird, kind of complex costumes, and she's into fashion. She's into like different things like that. And she has a friend, Donovan, who is her kind of second in command, it seems. They don't really talk in this episode. It seems like he's the kind of slave, or he's a kind of slave, I suppose is the best way to put it. But you do learn that he is in debt to her in some ways, not in a money sense, in a different sense. I'm sure you can guess as to what that sense would be. But yeah, he's in debt to her, so I imagine that's why he's kind of playing the slave, is because he owes her a lot of things about his life, namely his life. He owes her his life. Spoiler, he owes her his life, so yeah, that's probably why. But they're in like a weird relationship. Like, they go outside and they try and draw people to the hotel so they can eat them. You know what I mean? I don't know why they need to be in the hotel to eat the cunts. I don't know why you just don't eat them in the street. I suppose that would be messy and he would get arrested. But then I don't know why they dispose the bodies. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions here. I don't know why I'm overthinking it, right? They eat bodies. She eats women. She eats men. She eats loads of fucking people, is what I'm trying to say. And this brings me into my kind of theory as to what this series is about. We've had ghosts, we've had carnivals, we've had different things. And I think this one is based on vampires. Because, and I might be wrong, but I don't think that they ever went out during the day. And that's not necessarily a kind of rule of thumb on everything, but if you didn't see them during the day, and if they're eating people or drinking their blood, it's a good thing that there might be vampires. There might be vampires, is what I'm saying. There might be vampires. Because all of her little children, she has like little abducted children. Well, she has abducted children. I forgot that. She has little children that she abducts. She's like a pretty paedophile. Jesus. She's like a paedophile woman who abducts children and gives them video games. But she doesn't do anything weird with them. She just gives them video games. But when she abducts them, they turn albino, and I don't really understand that aspect of the situation. I don't know why Lady Gaga abducting you would make you albino, but it does, and maybe that's an effect of vampirism. She has like bleached blonde hair, so maybe they, all the victims and all the little kind of vampire kids do as well, because the little abducted vampire albino kids also eat somebody, so that does make me think that they are indeed vampires. Maybe that's an obvious thing I feel kind of big about finding out, but I feel like I found out that they're vampires, right? They're vampires. But there's not much else to say on her. I think she'll play a pivotal role in the series in episode 2, but a lot of episode 1 was just kind of introducing characters, letting them know who they were, and just showing how weird things are going to get. And if that weird worm man was anything to go by, they are going to get weird. And it does get weirder this episode. It gets weirder, so just stick around and hear about that. I talked about Donovan when I talked about Elizabeth, so I'm not going to try to talk about him anymore, really. But he is connected to Sally as well, and he does seem to have a kind of relationship with a lot of the women in the hotel. His mother is the receptionist, Kathy Bates, and so he's kind of intertwined with a lot of relationships of the hotel workers and owners. So I think he'll play a pivotal role as well, and it seems like he does, judging by the scenes that were shown. I've talked about the receptionist a lot throughout the video, so I'll actually just give her own subsection, her own kind of character description, I suppose. Iris is her name. Kathy Bates, as I've said time and time again, and she's sort of painted as a no shits given type person. She is the receptionist, she hands out the keys, and from what I can tell, it seems like, depending on how you treat her, she'll give you a room that's different. So if you're nice to her, she'll give you a nice room that you don't die in. but if you're a bit of a cunt, she'll kill you, and she'll do worse than that. So be nice to her, and you'll get a nice room. Don't be nice to her, and you won't ever leave the room. You know what I mean? It's like Yelp reviews for customers, but if you get less than 5 stars, you get raped. Do you know what I mean? Whew, that is a punishment. But yeah, she's Donovan's mother, and she is not bound to the hotel in any way, in any physical way or any mental way. But she is bound because her son's there, and she wants to look after him. She does say, and I quote, that he is sick, and I feel like the sickness is vampirism, but it could be something to do with his drug habit, which is discussed. Him and hypodermic Sally are connected through the drug habit, so maybe he's got AIDS or something like that. I don't know. We'll have to see how it goes and see what's discussed. But who knows at this point? It's all guesswork on my part in terms of what's happened, in terms of what's happening. But yeah, that's my guess. She's a receptionist, she's no shit's given, and it seems like she has somewhat of a choice in what room you go in and what fate you have. The reason I say that you might have a kind of choice in the room that you stay in and the fate of you is because John, a police officer who goes to the hotel for a stay, sleeps in a bed and doesn't die. Now granted, there is the rape victim sleeping right below him, literally under his bed, and there's an albino child who appears and says hello, who is actually his abducted child from years past. But he doesn't die, so he sees his old abducted child, and he sees he's above a rape victim. But you know, it's okay because he's alive at the end of it, and isn't that what matters? You know, isn't that what matters? Yeah. No. Alright. John is a character who's sort of disconnected from the hotel for a lot of the premiere episode, but somebody who does connect with the hotel at the very end. He's a police officer who is investigating a string of murders which seem to be related to the 7 deadly sins, and he's a kind of wounded soldier. Well, he's not a soldier. He's kind of a wounded police officer, I guess. His wife doesn't love him. His first kid was abducted, and his second kid seems to be a bit dumb because she walks into murder scenes and witnesses people being strung up by their fucking entrails. Do you know what I mean? If your dad is a police officer and he says wait here, you fucking wait there. You don't go and investigate the scene. That's a bad idea, especially when there's a murderer in the room. Do you know what I mean? The murderer texted the guy and said come to this address, and he took his daughter, and his daughter followed him in. She could have been fucking killed or worse. Who knows? But you know what? Whatever. John is a kind of tragic character. He's a workaholic because after his kid's abduction, he became kind of depressed. He became like kind of in a loveless relationship, only there because of his daughter, and so work took over. And the first case you see him work is one that is the most fucked up thing that I think I've ever seen in my life. It was messed up, even for this show. I'll paint a picture for you. Right? Close your eyes. Imagine a blue ocean. Now imagine there is no ocean at all. That was a lie. Now, instead, imagine a bed. Imagine a guy sitting on the bed. Okay? There's a guy sitting on the bed. It's a good scene. It's a good scene so far. He's naked. Ooh. Steady on. Steady on. He's got a woman sitting on his cock. He's having fun, isn't he? No, he's not. He has no tongue and he has no eyes, right? So it might have been a nice picture 2 seconds ago, but I'll tell you that much. Now it's not a nice picture because he has no mouth and ears. I don't care if you've got someone sitting on your cock. No mouth and no eyes makes it not a nice experience. Do you know what makes it even worse? I'll tell you, it's not a drill. Not this time. No, it's having your cock glued inside that woman. He's constantly getting pussy, but not in the way that he hoped for. I'll tell you that much. What is that murder scene? His eyes and his mouth were taken out and he was glued inside some woman. What? And he was also given fucking Viagra, so he had a constant fucking hard-on inside her. So that when it's just weird. So that when the medication worn off, it would rip and it would be horrible. Fuck that. Fuck that. No, I don't want that in my life. I don't want that near me. What is that murder scene? I can still picture it in my head. It's like when I watched Human Centipede, right? Someone said watch Human Centipede. I dare you to watch Human Centipede. I did, and I still can't get some of those images out of my head. And this is one of those images that I can't get out of my head. That scene where he's got some woman sitting on him with his eyes and his mouth gone. What is that? Why? Do you know what I mean? Why? Ugh. But there you go. So I think that was connected to one of the sins, lust. And Maybe it wasn't lust, maybe it's fucking greed. He got too greedy. And yeah, I think they all connect to different sins throughout the show. So I think there'll be 7 murder scenes that he investigates. Though that said, there were 2 this episode, and the second one, I'm not sure what that would be. So if you've got any suggestions, comment below, let me know. But you know, we'll see. Maybe they're not all connected to the 7 deadly sins, but it seems like he's a religiously kind of driven killer. But anyway, John is searching for the killer. The killer is kind of taunting him, saying, "Ooh, I've got your wife, but I don't actually. But I've got your wife, but I don't." And John kind of gets upset by this because the killer threatened his wife. He moves away from his family for their protection. And do you know where he moves? He moves to the hotel. Do you know what I mean? He's protecting them, but he's not protecting himself. If anything, he's making it more dangerous for himself. He's going to this hotel to search for a killer. The killer's probably in that fucking hotel. You'll get killed. Good job. Good job, John. If you're wondering what my theory on this kind of storyline of the killer is, I don't know why you would be wondering, but my theory is that the daughter or the wife gets killed and he goes crazy, or that he is, in fact, the killer. That would be a bit of a weird move to pull, a bit of a kind of shit move to pull. But if he's the killer, then I told you so. If he's not the killer, then I'll go back and I'll edit this video so it says that it's something right. But yeah, that's my prediction so far. He's the killer, and his daughter. If his daughter died, I'd be surprised, but I think it would be a kind of bold move. That's all the characters that kind of drew me in. That's all the characters that I found to be very kind of interesting. There were other minor characters that probably deserve note, like John's wife. She's kind of a cold, distant person, especially given the abduction, and she's just, I think she also is a workaholic. She doesn't like John. She says she doesn't love him back. He's a bit depressed about it. Poor John, rip the arenas. But you know, it's to be expected given the circumstances. But yeah, she's a bit of a bitch, to be honest. She's a bit of a bitch. You also have another Elizabeth, not Elizabeth the owner, but Elizabeth the transvestite, who also works in reception. She's a bit odd. I don't know if it's a he or a she. I don't know. I'll call her a she, because she is Elizabeth. So she's a bit odd. She talks to John, the police officer, when he's going up in the elevator, and says, "You've got sadness behind your eyes. I've seen that sadness before." And I don't know if it's like him just being a bit of an odd cunt, or maybe he's got like psycho mantis abilities, or maybe he's just weird. Who knows? We'll find out. Does he have abilities, or is he just a weird kid who's grown up to be a weird man, woman? I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned. But I think his character, or her character, I don't know what I'm supposed to say, but I don't know if their character will develop. I imagine they will, and I imagine we'll get more backstory about them. I think that would be an interesting thing to like kind of see the backstories of each of the characters. There are other characters that are still to be revealed. We've got Jessica Lange's character. I think she's in this season again. We've got other people's characters who should be revealed soon. They're not all revealed in the first episode. You don't play your cards straight away. You kind of hold them close to your chest. I don't know if that's actually what you do. Do you hold them close to your chest? I suppose that stops cheating, but whatever that saying is. I don't know what the fucking saying is, but that saying, they'll reveal them later. That's what I'm trying to say. They'll reveal them later. There's also some other guy who tries to buy the hotel of Lady Gaga, but he doesn't have very much screen time, so I don't really have much to comment on him. It seems like he might be a potential love interest for her. There'll be like a love triangle between Donovan, the druggie, the owner, Lady Gaga, Elizabeth, and this potential New Yorker buyer guy. He has a son, and his son is left with Lady Gaga. It's the first mistake, and she says like, "I've got something to show you. I think you'll like it." The guy's like 13, 14. I thought she was going to show him her minge, to be honest. I thought she was going to show him her fanny, but she didn't. She showed him from video games. So I mean, I suppose that's just as good, depending. But do you know what I mean? If I was in that situation, she says, "I've got something to show you. I think you'll enjoy it." I would be expecting some flesh. I wouldn't be wanting some fucking video game copies of Pac-Man. Because the place she takes him with her albino brood isn't good video games, mate. It's like Pac-Man from 1980. Do you know what I mean? Get some recent video games and we'll talk. Until then, I'm gonna go back and fucking do something else. Got better things to do than hang out with albinos, I'll tell you that much. And I think in the next episode, if she does woo the kid over, he will be an albino. So look forward to that. Add another one to the roster, Add another one to the roster. But they're all the characters that I really deserve note. I'll comment on more if I do these kind of recaps in the future for other episodes. I don't know if I will do another episode. I just feel like I want to talk about this first episode and let people know that this is indeed a really good season and probably one of my favourite shows I've seen in a while. I don't know, it inspired me to make a video. So the show seems a bit like The Shining in a way. I don't know if that's just because it's set in a hotel, but it does seem like a very Shining-esque thing. There's the two twins in The Shining that you see. They seem like the albino kids. You've got the guy who goes crazy as well, Jack Nicholson. So maybe it's the hotel itself which drives people crazy and makes them go weird. Maybe it's vampires. I don't know. It's all guesswork at this moment. But what I do know is it's enjoyable to watch. You know what I mean? There is some weird things, but the weird things kind of spark a conversation. They spark you to go, what the fuck? And they spark just a flame inside of your heart. So if you want a kind of short version of what I've said, if you want a kind of unrambly version, or less rambly I should say, this is kind of a return to form for the creators of the show. It feels like the kind of first two seasons to me. Maybe you liked the departure from the original kind of format, maybe you liked when it was different in Coven and different things, but I feel like sticking with this more traditional approach has really paid off and has really led to some great TV. It's the best series yet, better than any of the ones. I hate Freak Show, but this one I'm in love with. I can't wait to see the second one, and I can't wait to share that kind of information and the reactions with you, the viewers. Until then, enjoy your stay. Your room is number 63.